Welcome to the Baseball Insiders. I am Adam Weinrib, joined as always by Fansided MLB Insider Robert Murray for the first of 3 shows this week, with the trade deadline approaching next week. Hey, the trade deadline 6 p.m. next Tuesday, July 30th. Only 8 days till it goes down. So we're here at our normal time, 3:30 Eastern on Monday. This is when you've always expected a show. We're switching it up for the rest of the week. See you back here at 3:30 Wednesday, and see you here at 2:30 Eastern on Friday. Then special to be announced deadline episode next week, definitely Monday, and I believe Tuesday night as well. So stay tuned for that to wrap it all up. But here to sort through the weekend's buzz with me, as always, Fansided MLB Insider Robert Murray. We got a lot of aggression to talk through, Robert.
No, that we do. Sources confirm, though, what Adam just reported, that we have the show schedules and all that good stuff, and it's going to be pretty crazy. And I did get my tweet out on time this week, so I remember last week I was late on that. So already off to a better start, but good to be here back with you. Got a lot of stuff to sift through today because it's been a lot of texting and calls were made this weekend. But Adam, how are you doing?
I am good. Yeah, last week, Robert laid on his tweet. Some of you missed the ad read, and I know you were kicking yourselves. You all rewound to make sure you got it. Well, don't worry. Before we get into it, this episode is sponsored by DraftKings. They're offering a fantastic sign-up bonus for new users. New customers place a $5 first bet on any sport. Instantly claim that $150 in bonus bets when you sign up with our code BaseballInsider. Best part is that you will receive your rewards even if your first bet loses. Using our code BaseballInsider not only gets you these bonuses, it also directly supports our podcast. You've been considering signing up for DraftKings, make sure to use the code BaseballInsider to maximize your first bets. This offer is only available to new customers who are 21 plus and physically present in legal gambling states. Please remember to always gamble responsibly. Check the episode description for the full terms of the offer to see if you qualify. And if you're more of a content person rather than a gambling person, recommend you joining our Discord server. Hit the join button on the YouTube channel that you're on right now. Follow the steps. Sign up to become a member of the Baseball Insiders channel. Join at the Rumor Mill tier. You can ask Robert questions between shows, or I can field them. Join at the All-Star level. You get private streams moving forward. You also get priority questions in today's chat, in chats moving forward. I've got a couple lined up that I called from our Discord server overnight and into the afternoon for this episode. But everybody keep getting your questions in the comments section. Got plenty of good ones I see already, and got some good ones from the Discord prior to the show. So we are ready to roll, Robert. We got a lot of stuff to sift through.
No, we got a lot of stuff to sift through. I'm seeing the questions about James Paxton potentially getting DFA'd. I believe that is true. I've been working that since before the show, but I believe that is accurate. I'm just waiting for one more text to confirm or deny. So it seems like that's something that's going to end up happening or not happening while we're on the show. So I would recommend staying tuned for that. And yeah, well, we got a lot of stuff going on with the trade deadline here. It's been a lot of stuff has been reported. Some of it true, some of it not true, but I know we're about to dive right through that. So let's get weird.
Let's get extremely weird, a little normal as well. I mean, it's normal this time of year to be asking and answering absurd trade from the mundane to the absurd. I obviously hard to focus at this point. So many rumors to deal with. I figured let's start with the aggressive teams and work our way down, work our way to the comment section, respond to some questions. From what I've heard, from what I saw over the weekend, some of this stands to reason, is quite logical. But it would seem like the teams that are getting connected to the most options, the teams that are dangling the most nuggets, Yankees, Dodgers, Padres feel extremely active. The Padres are always active under AJ Preller. The Dodgers and Yankees are both in World Series or bust mode. Everybody anointed the Dodgers champions before the season started. They've got clear holes. They may or may not have just DFA'd James Paxton. The Yankees are stumbling and have been for about a month plus, and they only have Juan Soto under contract for a few more months. So it makes perfect sense that those teams would be aggressive. That lines up with the reality of the standings right now. Any other teams you would say are poised to be as aggressive as that trio? Does that trio sound right as well?
Yeah, that trio sounds absolutely correct to me. Like, AJ Preller is always extremely active at the deadline, and I expect that to be no different here. It seems like he's got at least some sort of flexibility, which is always a good thing and also a fun thing at the trade deadline. So you can expect Preller to be active in the bullpen market and also the starting pitching markets as well. The New York Yankees, they're obviously going to end up looking for different reinforcements across the roster. I fully expect them to get at least a couple of upgrades there. The Dodgers, they're always very aggressive, and it seems like from what I've gathered, they're going to be looking at the top end of the market, and Garrett Crochet is absolutely a name on their radar. So I think those three names are absolutely correct. And then some other names, I would look at the Seattle Mariners as a team that can end up being really aggressive. Whether it's, they're going to end up adding a bat or two. I think that's a foregone conclusion. They just need different reinforcements on offense. And Luis Robert makes a lot of sense. I know we're going to get into more Mariners talk here in a little bit, but I would be pretty stunned if they didn't end up leaving the deadline with another bat or two. As far as, hang on. Okay, we're still okay. I'm still trying to figure some stuff out about this Paxton thing. But the other team that I wanted to mention is a team that I thought could be aggressive is the Houston Astros, but I just don't think they have the pieces in the farm system to really kind of make it happen. So I think the Astros will make moves, but I think we got to kind of tame expectations with them.
But again, one of the hottest teams in baseball since everybody wrote them off very predictably. They have risen to lead the AL West at the moment. Took a statement series from those just mentioned Mariners over the weekend. Going to talk about the M's in a little. Want to touch on the Yankees. Saw a comment asking for Yankees news. Obviously, among these aggressive teams, among these struggling teams that need to dig their way out of a hole, there was a little bit of a buzz popping over the weekend that they would suddenly be willing to include Spencer Jones in a Garrett Crochet trade, even though they weren't willing to do so for a rental in Corbin Burns.
Yeah, Paxton got DFA'd. There we go. I'm tweeting it now.
Wow. After maybe his best start of the season against the Red Sox on Sunday Night Baseball.
I'm tweeting it now.
Well, here you go. I mean, look, this is why you watch the Baseball Insiders around the trade deadline. You might get Robert live tweets. You might get James Paxton. I actually just got a wrist notification, and I went, "Oh, what happened?" It's Robert Murray tweeting James Paxton being designated for assignment.
There we go. Live on the show. You can only get that on the Baseball Insiders or even in the Discord. This is the kind of stuff you can get in the Discord. I could not recommend joining that more.
This is, an honest question for everyone watching the show. Have you ever seen somebody get news, tweet that news, and then the other person on the same stream receive that news via Twitter? You ever seen that before?
No, I'm telling you. I just confirmed. Okay, there we go. All right, now I'm back to normal.
Perfect.
There we go. Okay, so back to the show we go.
Yeah, well, Garrett Crochet, again, is sort of the admitted prize of the deadline. Everybody knows he's moving, very controllable, elite, argue Cy Young candidate this year for sure, 150 Ks and 107 1/3 innings, indisputable talent. But coming off 12 2/3 innings, probably subject to an innings limit down the stretch, you would assume. We heard a little bit about, hey, maybe they package Robert and Crochet together. Last time we were on the show, you were like, I don't know about all that. Doesn't pass the smell test. Either way, seeing John Heyman said the Yankees should only dangle Spencer Jones for Skubal. They wouldn't do it for Corbin Burns. Let the Orioles get him. Are we hearing that they might be willing to trade Jones for Crochet because they know the Orioles are certainly preparing a Crochet package? So they don't want to lose two ace-level talents to the Orioles in a 4-month span. The famous smell test. What about this passes the famous smell test right now?
Oh, we love a good smell test. We absolutely love it. The Crochet rumors are really interesting here, and there's a good amount of interest in Crochet, but I'm skeptical about certain different things that have been reported. And like we see, there's been reports that the Yankees are willing to include Spencer Jones in a Garrett Crochet trade. We've seen the Yankees are also willing to include Spencer Jones in a Tariq Skubal trade. I believe that to be true for Skubal, but as far as Garrett Crochet goes, I don't believe that's ultimately going to be the case. I am pretty skeptical about that. I think the Yankees, if they were to get Garrett Crochet, I think they would do it in a deal that does not include Spencer Jones. That would probably end up limiting their chances. But as far as Crochet goes, I think those reports about the Yankees' willingness to include Spencer Jones are, one, to drive up the price on the Orioles and also to drive up the price on the Dodgers. I think that is a good. I think that could end up being a reason why that ended up getting out. We'll see. Maybe I'm wrong, but I feel pretty good about that. But Crochet is going to draw just massive interest. And you look at teams like the Dodgers, the Orioles. There's an abundance of different teams that could make sense for him. And I think Crochet is a very strong candidate to be moved. I think that is very clear at this point.
Yeah. You got Cap NJ with a comment asking if I keep a sheet of topics to start a monologue when Robert starts working the phone.
Yeah.
No, it's all off the dome. It's that improv background, classically trained improviser asking me about it. Just give me a topic. I'll go off. Nothing prepared, but always prepared. You know what I mean? Just got to use those reflexes.
Always got to use the reflexes. Now I'm getting back down to normal for now, so that's good. We appreciate everyone who's tuning in to watch this because this is like my fun time. This is something I really enjoy, especially the adrenaline rush of breaking news. I will say we've done it in years past where I've broken news or broken even trades at the deadline live on the show. I would fully anticipate that being the case here. So let's get weird. I think the next week is going to be really fun.
Yeah, this is my favorite show of the year until Wednesday, until Friday, until next week. Like we're getting hot.
And then the winter meetings happen, and then those are our favorite shows too.
Yeah, it's true. Unless you're on the ground trying to do Aaron Judge stuff from the lobby at the hotel in San Diego or wherever that was. That was tough stuff.
Dude, I was literally with Heyman when that happened. That was not the most fun thing in the entire world. Being a John Heyman fan, but John's the best. We love John Heyman on these parts.
Yes.
So.
Well, John's the one who's floating Spencer Jones in the Scooble package. Let's talk aggression. You mentioned the Mariners. They already got aggressive on Sunday night. Ty France on outright waivers. That's an indicator and a surprising one based on the past few years of Ty France that they are looking to improve this offense. They've decided that's a sunk cost. It's an important first step, it would seem. But what comes next? Because that's a pretty big first base hole and a pretty big declaration that, okay, we're not satisfied.
Yeah, that was not necessarily the most surprising move, seeing the Mariners place Ty France on waivers. Like, I mean, if he's claimed, I mean, then he goes to a team for no price whatsoever. And then if he clears waivers, which is kind of what's expected, then he's got the decision of whether to become a free agent or accept his outright assignment. And with considering he's making $6.75 million, I can understand why the Mariners did this because they want to clear that money from their payroll, which would give them even more room to add to the roster at the trade deadline. But it's clear they needed upgrades in the lineup, especially at first base. And I would expect the bulk of the work at first base to now go to their top prospect, Tyler Locklear. And it's become increasingly clear that the Mariners, obviously with the coaching moves that they've done, and now they're placing Ty France on waivers, they are absolutely serious about upgrading the offense, also to maximize the pitching staff that they have, because it's one of the best pitching staffs in baseball. I would firmly expect them to cast a very wide net and leave any and all options open on as far as like potential moves. Like Luis Robert is one that I mentioned. I think he makes a lot of sense there. Brent Rooker, I'm curious if the A's would be willing to make an interdivision trade there. I'm kind of skeptical that the A's will trade Rooker, but we'll see. Jazz Chisholm was a name that's gotten plenty of connection to the Mariners here. So I think he's another option. I think if the Cubs sell, I think Cody Bellinger makes a lot of sense, but I am highly, highly, highly skeptical that the Cubs will ultimately trade him. I think the Mariners will be very aggressive and they'll leave this deadline with at least one or two bats. I'm curious to see who, because it's Jerry Dipoto. This is Jerry Dipoto and AJ Preller's season, and they're going to be two of the most aggressive GMs, and it's going to be a blast. So let's get weird, because I think so far we think this deadline is going to be pretty quiet. But if there's any GMs who can make this pretty interesting, it's those two, maybe Anthopoulos, maybe Andrew Friedman. I think those are the four GMs who are really kind of worth watching over the next week or so.
Well, what is cooking in Tampa? Because that's the other one that we've been watching, and that Mark Feinsand came out yesterday as the Rays pants the New York Yankees and said they're interested in buying and selling. Of course they are. They've already gotten rid of Aaron Savale. All they do is buy and sell. Their franchise is based on a foundation of doing just that. But the latest on Tampa, we know they've got a lot of intriguing candidates. Paredes, Randy Arozarena has been a long rumored Dodgers target, at least in the Twitterverse. Saw Dodgers fans asking about bats in the comments earlier. Saw Dodgers fans asking about Paredes and the Dodgers. Brandon Lau. A lot of names that could be moved on Tampa, whether they add or subtract or do a little bit of both. What do you think Monday, July 22nd, 8 days out, this approach would look for the Rays?
Yeah, it's really interesting. And I think they'll end up being more open to moving some of their expiring contracts. And I think a guy like Randy Arozarena makes a ton of sense to be moved here by the Rays. And I think he's absolutely a name who's worth watching over the next week, give or take. Then you also look at guys who are controllable, like Zach Eflin, who the starting pitcher class in terms of the trade market is pretty weak. And you have Eflin, who is a very good starter. He's controllable through next year. And he's kind of a guy who I think could sneakily draw a lot of interest. The team that I've heard connected to him is the St. Louis Cardinals. And there's people around Eflin who think he can end up being like their next version of Adam Wainwright in St. Louis. If he ultimately is traded there, which there's no guarantees, he's a really valuable asset. And I think the Rays would have to be blown away. But you have to look at his salary and how, I mean, the Rays are a small market team. Shedding that salary to try to invest it in different parts of the roster, I think that could end up making some sense. Paredes, he's already drawing interest. I think one team that could make sense for him is the Houston Astros, in addition to what has already been reported about him. So they got plenty of different pieces who can absolutely make sense for them to move. But if they do buy, because the report from Mark Feinsand was that they could both buy and sell. Mm-hmm. If they do buy, I would look at controllable players at a cost-effective price, and also guys that, I mean, just the Rays, whenever they can add somebody on the trade market, you're always wondering, what do they know? But I would look at, as far as some characteristics, controllable and cheap, and then the Rays will do what they do.
Before we get to questions, let's take a brief trip to the. Go ahead.
I do want to answer this one from MLB Deadline News. Just a good fit there. I believe. Yeah, I think they're interested, but what I can confidently say is that people in the game think the Cardinals are a really good fit for Zach Eflin.
Awesome. I would agree. Am I a person in the game? Who's to say? But I do feel that he might be a good fit there. So before we move on, wanted to take a trip over to the Yap Factory, the Yap Corner. A lot of gibberish accompanies the deadline. A lot of fake stuff. A lot of people just raising the flag and saying teams have talked before, but no mention of them talking again. Or, like you said, people saying someone's a great fit, but no knowledge of whether the person's even available or the two sides are interested in consummating a deal. So myth busting before we move on to some questions. What's the worst? We call it yapping. What's the worst yap you heard this week of just like that has no genesis and that's getting a lot of fans' hopes up?
Yeah, I know there was one report that the trade market is heating up. I can confidently say that is not the case. I mean, maybe there's a deal that gets done here in like the next 24 to 48 hours. I mean, there's always deals that kind of pop up out of nowhere, but the word that I've heard today from a couple of different executives is stagnant or just not moving or just it's quiet yet, because there's so many teams that are bunched up that it's kind of put things in a holding pattern. So the market is not heated up yet. And then the other one that I saw some tweet today, I can't remember who it was from, but it was that the Pirates are they're trying to acquire Lane Thomas and to stay tuned. To my knowledge, there has not been a conversation yet between the Cardinals, or not between the Pirates and the Nationals about Lane Thomas. So that it's not worth staying tuned to that at this point. Maybe that changes, who knows, but it has not reached that point at all. But like, I'm seeing questions about the Pirates here. Mm-hmm. I do expect them to do something. I expect them to at least another bat, maybe two, but I think one is looking probable at this point, considering their recent run, which is a good thing for baseball, because I mean, that team is freaking exciting right now. Who would have thought we'd be saying that about the Pittsburgh Pirates on this show? But yeah, we love that. But those are the two biggest things that I would say are the biggest yaps at this point. But it's yapping season. We're going to be talking about plenty of yaps. Let's go, baby.
Well, if you're going to be staying tuned, you might as well stay tuned to the Baseball Insiders, and you might as well stay tuned for the next 8 days because we got a lot of material to cover. Fleet of questions. Want to get to a few. Just going to pair these two together because they're both tangentially Braves related from the Discord. Then I'm going to move into the comment section here. Discorders, B. Riley asked if Ozzie Albies' injury will potentially spur the Braves into a Rengifo pursuit. Question I really loved yesterday. They add Whit Merrifield and call up Nacho. So again, not sure if they view Whit Merrifield as a long-term solution there or Nacho, but still, basically, how does the Albies injury affect the trade market in general for the Braves? And then what fringe buyer is most likely to be the 2021 Braves, a team that inexplicably adds 3, 4, 5 secondary pieces and suddenly becomes elite, a contender, and a World Series champion? That one's from Junior the Kid. So 2 fun questions. Albies injury affecting the Braves' chances, and what are the fringe buyers out there that could become the 2021 Braves?
These are good questions, and I also want to make it a point to say having your name be Nacho is freaking awesome. That is instantly an 80 grade name. So shout out to Nacho. But I don't think necessarily it's not a good thing for the Luis Rengifo pursuit if there even was one for the Atlanta Braves, because when you call up Nacho and then you also sign Whit Merrifield, I mean that kind of limits the need for a guy like Rengifo. And Merrifield, he was not good in Philadelphia. There's a reason why they moved on in the middle of the season for him. So it's like you got to tame expectations, but you also got to look at the track record too. Is that he was very good previously in Kansas City. He was good in Toronto, and he struggled this year with Philadelphia. So I mean, still, I don't expect, at least as of this point, the Braves. I don't think that's much of a fit there for Rengifo. As far as the teams that could end up being like a fringe buyer or even a fringe seller. Okay, so
sellers that might regret not getting in the market too, like the Shohei Ohtani Angels corollary, like, shit, what do we do here? Yeah,
so let's see. It's okay, so I'll answer the first one here. Which fringe buyer is most likely to be the 2021 Braves? I don't think it's gonna end up being a team, like I don't think they're gonna make that amount of moves, but I think the Arizona Diamondbacks are kind of primed for a run in the second half of the year. I'm gonna call that now. I know they did it last year, so maybe that's not the most original pick, but I'm kind of buying some Diamondback stock. I think they could end up doing some pretty good things here in the second half. I will say, if the Pirates play their cards right in the second half of the year and they add another piece or two to complement that offense to bolster it, they can win a postseason series. With that pitching staff, they can beat anybody. So I think, I think the Pirates, I love the Pirates. This is a Pirates podcast basically at this point with how much we talk about them. But the team, and I'll finish with this one. Which fringe seller will not regret selling the most? I'm going to say the Toronto Blue Jays. I think if I was running the show there, I would just start fresh and trade Vlad Jr. and Bo Bichette. But I was even reminded of it today that the Blue Jays still want to compete in 2025 and that they view that best opportunity as having Vlad Jr. and Bo Bichette. So I guess I'm not expecting either of those guys to get traded. I've said that on the podcast for a month, but I still got to reiterate because there's a lot of rumors going around out there.
And if I were them, I would also do that as well, especially after Bo Bichette kind of said, hey, if I were to get traded, I'd be down. Like, that's the kind of person I cut bait on, maybe don't want to compete with in 2025, but not my job to build the Toronto Blue Jays. I'm just here to sit and yap about it. So appreciate it.
Yeah, we love a good yap on this podcast. So
we sure do. I love a good yap, and stay tuned for the Yap Corner as we move on. Might as well mention a couple. God, there are so many good questions to wrap with.
There's a lot of them.
Just endless number of questions. I want to talk about Jack Flaherty teams, and I saw MLB Deadline news float. He said, where's Jack Flaherty pitch after June 30th? I can answer that. The Detroit Tigers for at least another 3 or 4 weeks. But after July 30th, who are the teams that are in on Flaherty? Because he's probably a tick below Crochet. Obviously, he's a rental, well below Scooble if they decide to go that route. But probably him and Eric Fetty, the two most attractive, pitchers on that second tier, and he's just a rental. So They're going to cash that chip in. Who's interested?
I don't know who's interested, but I think the Dodgers, especially considering he's from that area, make a lot of sense. So I think the Dodgers can make some sense there. Let's see. There's other. I don't think the Orioles would do that again after what ended up happening last year.
If I'm the Orioles, again, they haven't hired me, but if they did, I would say please do not run that back.
Yeah, another one is the Minnesota Twins. I think could make some sense there. I fully anticipate Flaherty getting moved. I think that at this point is, I don't want to say a foregone conclusion, but it seems like it's a pretty likely scenario at this point. The Padres could make some sense considering the Mike Schilt reunion or Mike Schilt connection. So I think that makes a lot of sense as a good shout by Gustavo there. But Flaherty is a very strong candidate to be moved, and I fully anticipate him going. So yeah, that's kind of where it. And also, it's a good question here by Owen Lovely. Your very lovely last name, by the way.
Yeah, lovely man.
Do I think that the Jays move Chris Bassett or Kevin Gausman? I don't think so on Bassett. I think they should listen on Gausman though. They can. So this is what I'm thinking for the Jays here. Gausman's making a pretty good salary for next year. If you're able to trade him and kind of take advantage of a weak starting pitching market, you can trade Gausman, shed that salary, and then reinvest it in other areas in the offseason. I know he hasn't been as good this year as he has been in years past, so that's probably going to impact his value. But you can still get something, I would say, decent in return for Gausman. And if you're able to end up implementing that money into the roster again next year, and like even more so, I think that's a scenario that the Blue Jays, if it's presented, should not pass up, because I think that'd be a really smart move, and it could end up helping them compete in 2025, which is something that they really want.
This is maybe the most classic Baseball Insiders comment section of all time. We just keep offhandedly mentioning different players' names, and 3 comments crop up that are like, would be a good Padre. I agree. Maybe would be a good Padre, but we can't mention anybody without seeing the Padres or the Pirates here in the chatter. Love it, though. That's why we love you all. Steve wants to touch on the Brewers, and I would as well. Might the Brewers do some selling and buying with their pitching staff and having so many pieces coming back with 26 and 40-man roster constraints? You've been big on the Brewers being creative all along, so I would assume that you would sort of see some mixed aggression. You obviously got some big names coming back, Devin Williams on the mend. What's your current read on Milwaukee's creativity?
I think they're always creative, but they got to be creative, or they got to be creative to an extent. Like, they can't go out and trade a guy like Josh Hader, like what they did a couple of years ago, because that fractured their locker room. And there was a prime rumor a couple months ago that was floated on Twitter that they could end up trading Willy Adames, and then because they have Joey Ortiz. If they traded Willy Adames, I think that would just fracture that locker room, because he's like a key piece in that locker room. I'm not even trying to entertain that possibility. So I'm trying to flush that stuff out of my memory from Twitter. So thank you, Twitter, for that. But I fully anticipate them adding another pitcher. I really do, or another starting pitcher, because they need options. They love having as many outgetters as possible. I know they got to figure it out, especially once Devin Williams comes back. That's going to end up being a huge addition to that team. That's basically between having him. I think it's DL Hall that's coming back as well, or am I mistaken on that?
Ooh, interesting. I haven't thought about it.
They got another pitcher that's coming back. Yeah. And like they view those as big time additions and basically like trade deadline additions, which is honestly, like, I would think that same thing, but I also would expect them to make another trade. I just don't know what, but it seems like they're still looking for pitching.
DL Hall is on the mend, resumed his rehab assignment yesterday, so nailed that. Ryan Pizer, Red Sox staying pat or still considering moving larger salaries like Kenley or Chris Martin? Red Sox question, perfect timing. This is why you have to watch the Baseball Insiders 3 times a week when we go live 3 times per week. Because on Friday afternoon, would have said the Red Sox are poised to probably make a larger than expected deadline splash. They've earned it, etc. They should buy. Go to Dodger Stadium, lose 2 heartbreakers, get swept, and beaten last night by James Paxton, who got DFA'd the very next day. So my mind hasn't changed on the Red Sox. I still think they're good. I still think they should buy, and I still think they're going to go to Colorado and rebound and play pretty well. And then we'll be having a different discussion on Wednesday. But this is why we do 3 episodes per week, because all of a sudden we're getting Red Sox selling questions and standing pat questions when the run differential and the last 2 months indicate they should buy and go for it. What's your current read on Boston?
That they should buy.
Yes.
I mean, you look at them, they're 53-45, and they're way better than we all thought entering the season. They should absolutely be a team that buys. I've said it countless times on the show how frustrating it is that we even have to ask these questions considering the current state of the Red Sox's ownership. It's stupid. They should absolutely buy. And any thought that they shouldn't, or any thought that they should sell, to me does not make sense. Maybe a guy like Kenley Jensen could make sense if you end up shedding that salary and you can end up upgrading other parts of the roster, maybe, because he made it clear the other week that he wanted to finish his career with the Dodgers. Mm-hmm. So maybe that can end up being a thing. Who knows? But yeah, they should not sell at all.
Nope. Bye, y'all.
Bye.
Kenley Jensen pitching yesterday in a game they're losing 6-3, kind of weird. But other than that, bye. Good team. Johnny, we haven't mentioned the Cubs this episode, I believe. There was a Nico Hoerner sale question earlier in the comment section, and Johnny with the simple, are the Cubs going to sell request? As of now, feels like there's no way for them to avoid that fate. You're starting to get Jameson Taillon rumors, which means if they could get out of some future salary, maybe they would. Another $32 million left after this year on Taillon's deal, I believe. Might be 36. Might be backloaded. It's a lot of money. What's your read on the Cubs?
Yeah, that the Cubs at this point are going to listen on guys on their roster, but they want to end up being in a position where they can compete in 2025. And that, to me, signals that they're not going to trade meaningful pieces off of that roster. We've seen the Justin Steele rumors. I don't necessarily think that is likely at all. I think that's probably very unlikely to happen, just because they want to compete. He's a long-term asset in that rotation. There's going to be plenty of teams that check in, and who knows, maybe considering the state of the deadline, there could be some team that just blows them away with an offer. Who knows? But I think the Cubs either can stand pat or soft sell. I just don't expect a big sell by them unless things totally blow out here. I don't expect that to, but if it does, then the Cubs might end up having to really look themselves in the mirror and be like, okay, this requires a blow up. But I don't think that's going to be the case.
Before we sign off, I want to go to Jacob Hartline's question on the Reds, because I did mean to tackle the Reds today, given that last night there was a little bit of rumbling about, hey, Frankie Montas, Nick Martinez, we're starting to explore selling on the rental pitching market perhaps. A couple weeks ago, the Yankees were connected to the Reds bullpen. Safe to say, fairly disappointing season for that team. Last time we talked about them was, hey, Jonathan India is off the market. Maybe we're going to do some sort of hybrid work. But all of a sudden, we're sort of getting this, hey, if you want our pitchers, you come take them, emanating from Cincinnati. What's your current read?
Yeah, I think the players on expiring contracts for the Reds are definitely fair game, especially a guy like Frankie Montas. There's so little starting pitching market options out there that the Reds can end up getting a decent prospect back in return for Montas. So I would expect that to make sense, but I would really look at guys on expiring contracts in Cincinnati, not necessarily long-term assets as a realistic trade market pieces. So kind of a frustrating year for the Reds, because we entered the season with really high expectations for them, but they have not lived up to them. And now they're kind of looking like, especially a guy like a Frankie Montas, he can end up playing elsewhere, even in a couple weeks here.
Yeah, I got minorly fooled by the Reds. It turns out that perhaps our Pirates are in fact the Reds that we were seeking all along in terms of being young, competitive upstarts. The rotation certainly better. That NL Central, tough to compete in when you lose as many key pieces as the Reds did before the season even started.
Absolutely. Yeah. And also, go ahead.
No, I was just listening to people.
Oh, no. And also there's a lot of questions that we're not going to be able to get to.
Yeah.
I would highly recommend joining the Discord where I can answer those. I'm in there as often as possible, trying to answer questions and figure things out. So if you want to join the Discord and ask those questions, definitely make that happen. It's a great community. and we can get those questions answered, and you can be the most informed fan of baseball. So I could not recommend more doing that.
Absolutely. We're going to take it to the Discord. Please join us there. I'm going to just, I like that we got multiple comments shouting out Tyler Anderson, who I left off of my pitching tiers. I would put him right up alongside Eric Fetty, although I'm less of a believer. I believe in Jack Flaherty's second half more than I believe in Anderson's second half. Credit for the work he's already done, but I don't know. I've seen Tyler Anderson move around enough that I'm not inclined to believe that he is like, what game does Tyler Anderson start in a playoff series? Game 3? Am I super confident in that start? I personally am not.
Yeah, I'm not overly confident either. Who knows? Because like you look at it last year, he was placed on waivers like some of these other players, and teams were able to claim him for nothing, and they didn't. They just let him pass, and he ended up going right back to the Angels. And now a year later, he's looking like one of the best options on the market. I'm kind of skeptical. Like, okay, so let me rephrase this. I think he's going to draw plenty of interest, but I don't know if he can necessarily be a high impact addition for a rotation. I'm curious if teams have those same questions. I don't know at this point, but it's at least something to have in the back of your head that all these teams had a chance to get him a year ago for nothing. They didn't, and now they can. Are they going to trade a top prospect for him? We shall see.
We shall see, and that's why we hope all of you stick around so that we get to see. I would love to get a move by Wednesday. But we'll be back here Wednesday, 3:30 Eastern, 2:30 Eastern on Friday. And then next week, Monday show, Tuesday show. And the question here from Ryan, how long is the show going to be next Tuesday? I would say Monday is going to be the one where you're like, how long is that going to be? Because Monday, we got a lot of stuff to recap from the weekend. Look forward to the next 24 hours. Monday show is going to be probably the mega bag where everybody get your thoughts in, come to us for last minute. Tuesday show will be live after the deadline to recap what just went down, talk through maybe some things that never materialized, some insiders chat, stuff that got to the 5-yard line and then Lynch got stuffed. We'll talk about all that on Tuesday show, but Monday is going to be the mega bag where you come at us with everything you got.
Oh, it's going to be crazy. I'm going to be here for it. I've already stocked up on coffee. It's going to be pretty crazy. I will say I will have a new background for my next couple shows. I'll be in San Diego. So let's get ready for that. So maybe I'll be in San Diego when Preller makes some moves, who knows? But yeah, this should be a fun time, and I appreciate everyone for tuning in. Join the Discord. Stay tuned for our shows on Wednesday and Friday, and also next Monday and Tuesday. It's gonna be a lot of Adam Weinrib and myself on the show, so on your screens, I should say. So Stay tuned for that. And as I like to say, let's get weird.
Let's get really weird. And the Discord, if you want to get your questions in for Monday's show, Wednesday, Friday, obviously also, but if you want to get your questions in for the big show on Monday, when I know the comment section is going to be absurd, join us in the Discord, drop a message off first. I'll make sure I get to as many as I possibly can. I'm excited. Usually, obviously, I got asked earlier, hey, do you have a sheet of stuff to talk about if, this goes off the rails? I definitely have an outline of stuff I want to touch on, but Monday's show is going to be, there's no point in me even outlining it. It's just going to be comment, because you guys are the best. So I'm just going to fire them at you.
Oh yeah. I'm here for it. I'm kind of terrified, but I'm here for it. And I can't wait. This is my Christmas, and it's gonna be a blast.
Well, we'll have a little bit of outline prepared. We're not just gonna completely wing it, flying blind. I mean,
those are the best. That's the best kind of content, though.
MLB Deadline News threatened to tweet that Kevin Gausman's on the market and credit me, which the Blue Jays fans are already all over me because last week you credited me with the Kevin Kiermaier waivers, and he was like, "It's from Joel Sherman," but I heard it from Adam Weiner. But then a bunch of Blue Jays fans were in my mentions being like, "Explain the waiver process to me." I'm like, I'm just a humble host. I didn't invent waivers. But so if you tweet me, look, I respond to everybody in my mentions, but I'm no waiver expert, and that is not my rumor. But I love everyone, and we love the comment section. We hope to see you Wednesday, Friday, and Monday, and Tuesday.
Absolutely. Hey, Philip, we appreciate you joining the Discord. That's my guy right there. Philip, you're my guy officially. We love you on the Baseball Insiders.
Yes, we really do. Shout out to everybody. Shout out to Philip. Shout out to La Jolla. Kyle commenting saying you got to hit up La Jolla. I assume that you probably will. It's beautiful.
Oh yeah, I'll be all over the place. It's gonna be pretty crazy. It's gonna be an action-packed few days. A lot of meetings and a lot of good stuff. So it'll be a good time.
Yes. Until Wednesday, We'll see you all right back here at 3:30. Set your alarms, get your snacks, sit down, bring your questions. We can't wait, and hopefully some stuff goes down between now and then. Until then, I'm Adam Weinrib before Robert Murray. We'll see you there.
Thank you, everybody.